Viewers, welcome back to Marriage Unscripted by me, Wairimu Gashoya. Now, on today's topic, submission, still on the series of submission, we're just here to tackle it and understand it and, devour into it and understand. Is it a misunderstanding? Is it a communication barrier? What is it? What is submission? And on set today, we have our guests, a couple that we are going to have take us through the introduction and the understanding of submission so that I and you can dive deeper and ask ourselves, are you well submitted to your husband? Are you well submitted to your wife? Stay tuned. Now, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kindly, I don't want to preempt, and start explaining to the people who you are, but please look at that particular camera and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay. Good evening and thank you for having us. My name is Mercy Mungure. I'm married to my lovely husband, Mungure, seated right beside me. We've been married for 5 years and it's been a beautiful journey. I love being led by him. We have 2 children. We work together, literally, we work together in the same office. And I am born again. I love the Lord as my personal savior.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. My name is Edward Mungure, husband to Mercy. We're really happy to be here this evening. Thanks for having us. And we're excited about the topic of discussion today, which is submission. And yes, looking forward to a good discussion.
You're welcome. Now, before we even dive deeper into what submission is, I'll pose this question. Ed, is it silence? Is it obedience? Is it, a biblical perspective? Like, what is submission?
Thank you for that question. I think submission is a model that's given to us by Christ in the Bible for marriage. Just as Christ is head of the church, then the husband is the head of the wife. So that's the model we receive from the Bible, mm-hmm. and that's the principle. Mm-hmm. And it's a position of it's actually a posture and an attitude more than it's more of a posture and an attitude in which we approach these relationships, because our attitude, how Christ perceives the church, that scripture continues to say, just as Christ laid down his life for his church, how much he loved the church to the point of laying down his life for the church. So for the husband, it's a very high calling that you should be willing to literally die for your wife, mm-hmm. because that's exactly the kind of relationship that we are supposed to have. So it's a level of love, sacrificial love from the husband. And the wife's response is to submit to that love, and that kind of leadership. So that's basically it. Yes.
Mercy. Yeah. Ed says that it is a high standard, a pedestal that the Lord has put for them. What are some of the myths that we've encountered his wives in the term submission?
I think some of the misconceptions are that submission means you're less, you're beneath the husband, which is not really true, because as the Bible puts it, even as God gave the command to Abraham and Adam and Eve, you're equal, but different roles. Mm-hmm. So submitting does not mean that you are less than your husband. Mm-hmm. It just means you are equal, mm-hmm. before the eyes of Christ. Even the Bible says we are co-heirs to the kingdom of God, but our roles are very different.
All right.
And the way the Lord also orchestrated it is there is a head and you follow. Yeah. I must also say that also submission it's willingness. You have to be willing to follow, to be led. You can't force someone to submit to you.
All right.
Yeah.
So what will that look like in marriage setup, Ed? Yeah. Like for you to have someone willing to follow you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the key thing is the man is called to be a leader. He's called to be a priest. He's called to be a prophet. He's called to be a priest first, to lead spiritually. He's called to be a prophet, to speak life, to to see the future on behalf of the family. He has to provide. He has to protect. So wearing all those hats means your wife really has to be convinced.
Yeah, because I say, imagine for
Yes.
me to willingly.
Yes.
Willingly.
Yes.
Bado tax nashindwa kulipa.
Exactly.
KRA msinifuate.
Exactly.
But bado ninashindwa kuilipa
Yes.
willingly.
Yes.
For someone to willingly follow you.
Yeah. I don't think it's fair for someone to submit. It's not easy for someone to submit if you're not leading very well. Okay. So there's a sacrificial leadership where you're willing to lay down your life for them, to provide for them, to protect them, to lead them spiritually, and also now to be a prophet, because you're the one also who is supposed to help your wife nest her dreams and her aspirations within the greater vision of the family. So I think at the level of courtship, this is really important for you to have clarity, because you have a career, you have ideas of the kind of life you want as a woman. So it's important to find someone that you can align yourself with to lead the vision of the family, and for you to be able to also grow your own vision within that greater vision. So I think leadership is what really would make submission easy. If a man is leading in the right way, in a biblical way, then submission will come automatically. And of course, if it's not a good fit, then at the level of courtship, that's actually the best time to make those decisions.
To call it good.
Yes.
Now, I like the fact that umejileta vizuri sana, and you're saying that this is a healthy way. This is a healthy way to distinguish between submission and domineering. Now, how does it look like in marriage? How does the healthy submission look like in marriage? Ed. You thought was
Yeah,
I want to pivot and understand from the man's perspective.
Yeah, I think, as I said, a submission is a posture and it's an attitude.
Yeah.
Our posture towards Christ as our leader, we don't perceive Christ as an overbearing master, but as a loving father, as a good shepherd. So I think it's the same example that we are ought to follow in our homes. To lead with love, we lead with the fruit of the Spirit. Okay. The fruit of the Spirit must be evident in our lives. In addition to having all those roles and responsibilities, we need to model Christ-likeness, so that even as we wear all these hats of leading, providing, then it's easy also for our wives to be able to relate with us, because sometimes we run too far with leadership and we forget being Christ-like. So I think that's usually where things start to go wrong.
So what you're saying, or what I'm understanding, is that there is the picture that you are looking at, the picture of Christ that we are being displayed into understanding that as a man, I am to follow Christ, and then my wife is to come in and follow me.
Yeah.
Mercy, how does it look like for a husband that is not following Christ? Umeshapatikana, courtship imepita na umejikuta uko ndani.
Yeah.
But he's not following Christ for you to follow him.
Yeah. That's a good question. It's also not an easy thing. However, remember, for you to submit, you're not submitting to your husband for him.
All right.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes. The command is for you from the Lord, not from your husband. That's why I said it's willingness to follow, to be led, to sit under your husband. And the same way, you remember Christ saying we must submit to the authority. Submission is not an easy thing. As a human beings, we are rebellious in nature. Remember, we must submit to the Lord. We must submit to the Holy Spirit to lead you. Submission, you must submit to the authorities in your nation, authorities that the rules that govern the world. So when you look at submission, it's not just one aspect in marriage, but you're submitting to everything around you. For things to work for you, you must submit to a higher authority. If you're employed in a place, you are submitting to that boss, to the rules and the authority over that place. But in this sense, in marriage, you're not submitting to your husband for him. It's for you It's for the promise made to you as a woman to submit to a husband. Remember, you also must be a good example. He may not be born again, so that means he's not submitting to Christ. But your example, you submitting fully to Christ yourself, because remember, salvation is for you. So you must submit to Christ as a woman and pray that your husband's heart will be changed. If he doesn't get changed, that's not your work. You are submitting to the Lord. I know it's not easy. It's easier said than done. But just remember, you're not doing it for yourself. You're submitting to the Lord first.
That's such an in-depth information to imagine that I am not doing it for him, but for Christ.
Yes.
That's a total different look and outcome of it altogether.
Exactly.
Ed, as a leader of the house, umekuja na umebounce, imekugonga, hauwezi portray the leadership in. Do you expect submission?
Wow, that's a good question.
The question is, should you expect submission?
Yeah, that's one of the things we've been learning with some of my friends, that leadership comes with responsibilities. It comes with privileges, but many times we want the privileges without the responsibility. And so it's one of those areas where you need a lot of accountability from your friends and even from your partner, that you're not merely appropriating privileges without paying the price. You're not taking responsibility, but you're demanding the privileges that come from a position of leadership. So I think that's the balance, that you cannot demand that which you have not paid the price for. So you cannot assert your authority and your leadership if you are not fulfilling your roles. But as usual, because leadership also comes with power, and we know that power corrupts, and many times this idea of leadership and headship has been abused because of the power that comes with it. Because in our social circles, people know that's the order. But yes, that's the position or order. But there's also that responsibility, which is usually where most people would rather not pay the price. Yeah.
Interesting. Leadership comes with power. The power has been abused on you as a wife. What do you do next? How do you go about it? How do you still? I know you've told us that we are not doing it for us.
Yes.
We're not doing it for your husband.
Yes.
You're doing it for, but marriage is a long term.
Yes.
So there is a young girl looking at you and wondering, umse abuse leadership yake.
Yeah.
What are some practical ways that I can go about it?
I think one of the things we must also understand is we are human beings, flawed, but we are work in progress.
All right.
Through Christ. So I'm working out my salvation. So I'm pressing on towards the mark of my high calling. This is also in marriage. One of the things that you must look at, see the best in your partner. Right?
Where?
Your post.
Interesting.
Always, if I decided to see the worst in my hubby, I would.
You'll find it.
And you'll find it.
Yeah.
However, I've been given a good thing by God, a very good thing. And you see, God did not deposit him. I made a choice to follow him. It's a choice. He made a choice to choose me. He chose me and told me, I want you to be my girlfriend. I want you to be my wife. He took me to the altar. So I made a choice. So every day, it's a choice to see the best in my hubby. Every single day. And every day dying to self. Because as I said, we also are rebellious people. We always want to murmur. We always want to complain. He didn't do this. But look at yourself. You see, the Bible says, don't look at the log
in people's eye.
Don't see the speck in someone's eyes and leave the log in your eye. So see the best in your partner. Sometimes he may err as you err, but dialogue, communication, negotiate. We have a lot of conversations. It also helps if you're very good friends. We've been friends for very many years. It helps that we sit down and talk and ask ourselves, okay, why is this happening? Is it that I myself have slacked in my roles and my duties? Why is there resentment building? Is it something that we can rectify? If we cannot solve it ourselves, then we go to a counselor. And that's very rare. Most of the problems, you have the solutions within yourself.
You have the solution.
Yes.
But the counselors should not be put away anyway.
No.
It's healthy.
So you see, it's healthy because number one, you want to protect your marriage. You can't go telling everyone unless they are very trusted people. But a counselor is there. They are someone who will keep you accountable, but they don't have any vested interest in you. So it's best that you go and see a counselor.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean that you get married and the counseling that you did, you stop there. You can still do it. 5 years in marriage, 10 years into marriage, different seasons of life. Yeah.
Interesting. Ed, we've had people, mostly in marriage, complain that since I got married, I lost myself. I'm no longer myself. My identity has been lost. I've had to fully give in into my husband's view and ideas. My question this day will be, do you think when you submit, or rather, if you submit, should you still maintain your individuality, your opinions?
Yes, you will need to maintain your individuality and your opinions, because your unique attributes as a wife, as a friend, as a mother, the roles that you wear in that God has made you, in that way, which is perfect, because that sounds like then there's no place for a female voice. There's no role for my femininity, for my feelings, for my thoughts. I think those are things that ought to remain, and you ought to be able to, it's not, I don't think you lose your feminine self just because you're married. Your feminine energy is needed in very many aspects of your marriage, and it's a beautiful thing. What I think you're asking is, will you have the same level of freedom? No. I think that's what most women struggle with in marriage. Like, no. And that's a big no.
I hear the way you say
Yeah, it's a big no.
energy.
Yeah, it's a big no.
It's
And
a
that's
big no.
it's a big no. And I think those are some of the things men overpromise during courtship. And then when the reality checks in during marriage, it causes a lot of strife.
What does it look like?
I think one of the big ones, like for us, was children, childcare. Like for the first few years, you're going to be primarily involved in childcare. So if you want to have children, then your career aspirations must be centered around taking care of young children. That's a fact, if you do want to have children. So those are realities. Sometimes we say, no, we'll figure it out when we get there. But I was quite honest with her, like I have a very demanding career. I work 2 jobs. I have this, I have that. I really don't think I'll be able to spend a lot of time at home doing childcare. I'll come home every evening, yes, but you still have to be the primary person taking care of the children. So I don't know if that's wonderful. And someone would say, no, I can't do that. And that could be a deal breaker, even for a relationship. Yes. So as she said, knowing the roles that you need to play, and also being able to just appreciate that we need that from you. We like it when you do this, we like it when you do that. So I don't think you're losing yourself. I think even for men, sometimes yes, you lose some freedoms when you marry, because the weight of responsibility of marriage, I don't spend as much time with my friends as I would want to. Maybe I don't get to do soccer, exactly. There's a lot. Exactly. So there's stuff you have to give up, and I think sometimes that's where ladies say they feel lost, but mostly it's the price you have to pay. But also, as my wife has said, you have to cultivate your relationship. We still go out on dates. We still have to do the things that people do when they're dating to make ourselves feel like girlfriend and boyfriend. Because that's where it all started, But if the work becomes all consuming and you're not relating as girlfriend and boyfriend, then that also becomes an issue. Yeah.
Before we go for a break, Mercy, how does a balance look like? Maintaining your individuality and your opinion, and still submitting to your husband?
I think it's in the mind. number one, partly. Because remember, as I said, submission does not start when you get married. It's a posture of your heart. It's humility. It's accountability. It's responsibility. Submitting to someone is a lot of responsibility. You cannot just wake up and say, I'm submitting to this one. The Lord has to have worked on your heart, like truly. You know, even that song, uongezeke, mimi nipungue we uongezeke. You have to be really measured and also mature for you to be a wholesome being. So being a mother, so different seasons of life does not change you submitting to your husband. Just some things will sort of take a backseat. So if you have a newborn, the newborn is your primary, you're the nurturer. They'll fully depend on you. I think until the children are about 3 years, let me say 3 years, until they start going to kindergarten. So your role as a mother sometimes will take the forefront. But that does not mean you're not submitting to your husband. Right. So the submission is there. Just that I think what we would say is your role, some of the things that maybe you used to do, spending so much time together, may slightly take a backseat.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we have it. We're still unpacking what submission is in a healthy marriage. Don't touch the dial.
Truth TV, empowering you.
Not their ideas, not their manifesto. And I think courtship has a lot of manifestos.
It has.
Things that shall be delivered, but they're out of character. So character is who you are when no one is looking. Character is the sum total of your behaviors, your actions, your attitudes over time. Yeah. So character is tested. Before you trust, character must be tested. I think even the Bible is very clear even about leadership in the church, about all the attributes that are highlighted, even the book of Timothy, about how to select a deacon. He must be a man of this kind of standing, lead his family well. And the last verse says he must be tested. Yeah, he must be tested. And I think that's the bit where most people forget. Mm-hmm. You don't test the person, meaning you need to have a track record of this person. Do they have a track record of keeping their word? Do they have a track record of being honest about their finances? Do they have a track record of being honest about, just the stuff of life,
Post kidogo.
Yeah.
Post kidogo.
Yes.
Kidogo. You're talking about trust in these big things.
Yes.
Now we are having couples that are, or rather young people that are looking into marriage.
Yeah.
When you say the character has been tested in terms of even finances, please expound.
Yeah, I mean, disclosures. Yeah, disclosures.
Do you think it should be disclosed in the courtship?
At the level of courtship, it needs to be clear how you are going to handle your money,
All right.
how you're going to manage your resources, what you own, what you owe. That's really important. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get into marriage and find you're in
loans.
Exactly.
You're
deep in debt, and you've been going out on dates, funding a fancy lifestyle, but it's all, it's all a house of cards. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So it's not real.
Okay.
So I think trust should be given to people who demonstrate character. Mm-hmm. And I think misplaced trust is one of the greatest tragedies in marriage, where people trust because of promises. They trust because of, maybe emotions, sometimes out of, impatience. We feel like this is it, and if I miss this, then it's over. But trust should only be given to people who have demonstrated character, godly character. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think mercy resentment has built into ladies not submitting? Especially still on the topic of trust.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I would say yes, because of broken trust, broken promises. Imagine, as Ed is saying, imagine I promised you heaven and I don't deliver the earth. So it's you build resentment because you'll be like, you said you'll provide for me. And it starts very simple. You said you'd provide for me. You'd provide for us if we have children. So if the woman has to pick up the provision part, that means you're telling me I have to play the role of a man. Okay.
I hear you.
So I have to trust you and trust your word. You have to be a man of your word. It has to be proven that you're a man of your word. The other one is protection. Do you protect me from the world? Do you protect me from people? Do you protect me sometimes from myself? So also, if you can't protect me, I have to protect myself from so many things, then I will resent you. It creeps in slowly, because, and the biggest I think is provision. Mm-hmm. Also, because when children also start going to school, who will pay their school fees? Do I have to work extra hard? So if I am forced to be a man in this relationship, then I will resent you. Mm-hmm. Yes. You will not respect your husband at that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
The trust is broken, Ed. Mm-hmm. How should I rebuild it enough for me to submit? Or rather, how should the man? When I say it looks like it's the lady that should rebuild the trust.
Yeah.
How should the man?
Yeah, trust can be rebuilt, though it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey that needs other men and not just your wife. You need other men. You need a spiritual leader who can, give you good counsel. You need professional counselors if it's issues that involved around habits and things that addictions. You need professionals. You need your stretcher bearers. You remember the story of the crippled man when they could not find a way into the house where Jesus was, and their friend needed to be healed. You need stretcher bearers. Those are not acquaintances. Those are not ordinary friends. These are friends who would take you up on a roof, remove the mabati, and drop you down na atoe ceiling na kuteremshe na kamba ndio ufikie Mungu. That should be the level of desperation and desire for them to see you become whole again. So once you are whole, then the restoration of the relationship is possible. Many times tunajaribu patanisho before walking that whole journey. So most things are just band-aids kind of solutions. Rudianeni, then ati hii maneno tutasolvia mbele. But it usually doesn't work like that, because many times these are maybe character issues that have been overlooked for many years. And now they are just coming to rear their head in marriage, because in marriage you are naked and not ashamed. And in that nakedness of marriage, that's where a lot of these things start to manifest. So the journey is a long journey. It involves all those people. It involves spiritual leaders, it involves professionals, it involves your stretcher bearers, and of course your wife. Your wife is there. But for men, I can tell you for sure, without those three, without the men, the professionals, and your inner circle, most times it will be short-lived in terms of change.
Do you think men have enough space, like the stretcher bearers that you're talking about? Do you think men have enough space to be vulnerable enough and say, my marriage is really shaking and I made the mistake, I did the blunder? Do you think we have enough spaces for men to be vulnerable enough and also to have a group of what again?
Stretcher bearers.
Stretcher bearers.
Yes. I think it's a choice. Accountability is a choice. Men, because of their ego, would rather not disclose, would rather portray strength, would rather portray that they're okay. But when crisis hits, then you are forced to just retrace your steps. So it's really up to you. You can either be proactive and keep yourself in that space, commit to a life of accountability, or you can wait for crisis and have to do the work of undoing the crisis and rebuilding your life. So I don't see any place in the Bible where we are free of accountability. We see Nathan confronting David. Remember, David now has moved from living with his men out in the wild, raiding, going for wars, and now he's in the temple and he gets comfortable. And it's in that place of comfort. Remember, he saw Bathsheba while the men were out fighting. So as soon as he has retired, quote unquote, from the hard life of being on the front line, he's idle in the palace. And that's where his idleness leads him to sin, you get. So he perhaps would have chosen, even if he was not fighting, he would have chosen to be with the men on the front line, and that would never have happened. So that's where men find themselves, and that's why men fall when they are at their peak, because David is now at the peak. He's now ruling in Jerusalem. The entire kingdom is unified under him. He's no longer a rebel. He's a king with authority and power. And we see David at his lowest point. We don't see him struggling with that in his entire military journey. And that's because now, and that's where the devil normally strikes. Now when you arrive in Jerusalem, you've sat on your throne and you are reigning.
And comfort has taken.
That's where accountability normally stops. And that's where most men fall. So I think it's your choice. I don't see you running away from it. You just have to put yourself in those kind of relationships.
So what you're saying is there are situations and places that men can have the vulnerability.
Yes.
It's just a choice that someone has made to,
yes,
remain the macho that they should be, and maintain a certain face to the crowd. Interesting. Mercy. Trust. Submission.
Yes.
Tutazunguka hapo kwa ajili. Most marriages are really suffering because Ed mentioned the finances. We've had people say they've broken up because of finances, because they felt, quotes and quotes, they didn't know who this particular person is. So it's broken.
Yes.
or rather it's building for those that are looking into marriage. How do you go about the broken one first, then the building one?
Okay. I think when you're dating, the first thing is openness. Okay. But by the time you're disclosing your finances, you've known this person to a level. And now you
Seem to leo kesho ushamwambia I earn this.
It's not a day, a month. You are sure that you're going to settle with this person and they are a good fit for marriage, to be married to. So openness, those character traits, someone being open and truthful about, this is how much I earn, this is how much I spend on ABCD, this is how much I give to the church, this is how much I give to my family of origin, these are the people that I am supporting, this is the debt that I have, so this is in terms of loan. So the problem comes in if, let's say, you do not disclose, this is how much you earn, and this is the debt that you have. Then we get married, and you tell me I have a debt, and the Shylocks are on my head. That will break your trust because you withheld that information, which basically is lying. Okay, so I think we should, when you're doing the counseling, you should also have that conversation of finances and be open about it. Okay, so broken trust in terms of finances can also be rebuilt because then you have to talk about it. Yes, this is how much debt I have. I am sorry, and genuine apology, and then now you rectify together. But it shouldn't reach to that place. And if it does, then it still can be rectified through counseling. I think the other thing that breaks trust is hidden relationships. Let's say when I was courting him, and he's like, why are you talking to anyone else? Okay, remember there's a talking stage, coffee, whatever, and maybe you're talking to this person, then your spouse, you're married now and they find out.
Boss, what are you saying?
Hidden relationships. If you're talking to this person and you're in courtship, there should be no other relationships between you and someone else. So the other thing that can break trust, same thing in marriage, is
mpango wa kando.
Yes.
Interesting.
Mpango wa kando. Because that means you're breaking your marriage vows. I got married to Ed, and Ed only. That marriage bed is sacred to God and to me. So that means if you break that is a huge breach of trust. Yes.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now that we've really expounded on trust and the understanding of what trust is, Ed, do you think women struggle to submit?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, yes, because submission is really dependent on your relationship with Christ and whatever, how deep you are with the Lord and your understanding of what marriage is. So of course, if your faith and has not led you to a level where you can adopt a posture of submission, then it will be a struggle. Because as my wife said, and as I said when we started, submission is a posture and an attitude. It's a posture of humility, and it's an attitude that is shaped by that posture of humility, because it is in believing that in my submission that Christ is glorified, that Christ is honored in this marriage, that we are demonstrating. Remember that Christ says that a couple is actually a model of Paul highlights that it's a model of how Christ demonstrates his relationship with the church, the relationship with the husband and the wife. So meaning even that by how I'm relating to my husband, I am effectively evangelizing. I'm a witness to other people to see a model of Christ and the church. So for that person, then it's not going to be a challenge. But for someone who their relationship with Christ has not reached a level where they can fully trust in God and fully trust in his model and his idea, then of course you'll come in with your own ideas. You will do your own thing. And of course it will not work, because you either surrender to Christ or you surrender to Christ. You cannot surrender to Christ and still hold on to your own ideologies. You cannot surrender to Christ and hold on to, other options. So it's easy for those who are fully submitted to the Lord, but extremely difficult if you are not fully submitted to the Lord. And I think it's difficult. Okay, it's difficult, not impossible, but it's really difficult. Yeah, for those who are not fully submitted to the Lord. Yeah.
Mercy, what are some of the reasons, or rather ways, that women struggle with submission?
Some of the ways.
Ed has given us the biblical perspective.
There.
Sasa tuje kwa ground. Tutoke heaven kidogo. Breakfast tumekunywa.
That's a good question. I think one of the things where ladies may find themselves struggling with submission, number one, social upbringing, family of origin. If you noticed abuse, could have been emotional, physical, so that lady will find it very hard to submit. Okay, because there's that posture. The mother would have been submitting, but there was trouble during them growing up, or the people that were around them. Okay, and also broken families. We cannot go without talking about that. That would be very hard for you to get married and submit as a lady. The other one is broken trust. You could have trusted someone so much and they broke your heart badly. So it would be very hard to get into a relationship and submit with that script in your mind. So that's a bit hard. I think the other thing is the people around you. Okay. The company you keep, who speaks life into you. So your friends, your mother, and especially ladies, we are very close. Most of the ladies are very close to their mothers or a female figure. So what do they speak into you? Yeah. So if you have a very good example of someone you look up to, so role models, and they show you this picture, it will also be very hard for you to submit. Yeah. So some of the things that make it hard for lady to submit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And there we have it. Now we're going to go for a short commercial break and we shall be back with more. And welcome back, my viewers. Now, before we went for the break, we were talking about reasons that women struggle into submission. So, as we come back, Mercy, you said that the upbringing matters exactly how well you should submit to your husband or not. So, do you think the word submission has been distorted by the society today, or rather influenced by the social media?
Absolutely. There are so many things going on in our world right now. And it's hard, I think, for young, impressionable minds to decide and to decipher what is garbage in and what is garbage out. So when you look at the word submission, I think it has been distorted a lot to mean very demeaning, derogatory, meaningless, less than, unequal. Also, when you bring in the femininity, the feminism movement, so there are so many ways and things that we are hearing that do not make it look fruitful to submit to your husband, to submit to authority. And it does not start, it starts in the home. And let's go back to what we said. Submission is actually, it starts when they're young. Imagine your toddler. Like right now we have a toddler. Submission is not easy because you have to teach them to obey, teach them to follow through, teach them to follow the rules. Now imagine we bring up these children with no laws, no rules, no way to follow. That means they'll do whatever they want. So it's that you're already distorting the submission that God created for the world. There's an order for which everything is. There's an order to the world. There's the sunrise, the sunsets. There's the moon, there's the stars. If you look at the way God created all of us, there's an order. Submission is an order from Christ. So yes, the society has really distorted it. When you come to the social media, what are we being taught right now? You should do what you want. You have your body, your rules. My dress, my choice. Why are you submitting to him? You're well learned. You have a brain of your own. You can do things your own way. I don't have to submit to my hubby. We are married, but kila mtu afanye vitu zake. So there's a breakdown in so many things, and the godly order that was placed from the beginning. Yeah.
Interesting. Culture and submission.
Yeah.
Where do they merge?
Wow, I think our culture either undermines or supports submission. Our African culture, I think, does support submission, biblical submission, which I think is a big plus. But as my wife has said, because of a lot of influence from the West, maybe that has changed. She studied, she did her degree in Uganda, and I always used to make fun. I told her I was planning to go to Uganda and find a wife from the Buganda. I love the way they serve their men. Exactly. Yeah. So those are cultural enablers. So we cannot look at it all as all negative, meaning there are things from our culture that already help to change your attitude and to enable that posture of submission. Because we said it's an attitude and also a posture. So I think if you've grown up in some of those cultures where submission is cultural, then even once you receive Christ, once you are born again, then it's much easier for you to adopt that posture. Of course, cross culture, as we are saying, from cultures maybe more westernized cultures, where there's maybe strong feminist movements, we are seeing that radical forms of feminism, which are not just about increasing opportunities for women, but outright kind of independence, or like it's emancipation from they call it the male dominant hierarchy. There's a name for it that they use, that the world is a dominance hierarchy that is controlled by men. By men. At the expense of women. So there are those radical forms of thought, of new thoughts that Mercy has highlighted. But I think in general, our culture is quite enabling. The African culture is quite enabling. So if you add our African culture and roots to a clear understanding of biblical teaching, so at least that's not one area where they are in conflict. It's one area where it's quite easy to flow with. Yeah.
What about TikTok?
Wow, okay.
I know mekutupa kwa basi considering wewe na Gen Z kidogo.
Exactly. I'm more of a Facebook person. I think I even struggle.
The other one was it Twitter?
Twitter, yeah.
I mean, the X now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm so old school. I think I think I only opened Facebook. I have an X account. I have a TikTok account. I've never posted anything. The last time I posted on my Instagram was also, I don't know. So these are not, as my wife has said, unfortunately, when we are growing up, think about the sources of authority. These were not authoritative sources. Mm-hmm. But as she's saying, because of this short form content, which is out there, it's constant, 24 hours, 24/7, we have pseudo experts, guesswork, lies, all this kind of demonic, deceptive content on these platforms. Mm-hmm. So they're not authoritative, but because our young people and even older people are getting access to this, then of course they are feeding, and it's feeding into their spirits. If it's feeding into your mind, it's feeding into your spirit. And with time, you will start to adopt certain attitudes, certain mindsets without knowing. So that's an area where you really need to filter where you're getting your information. So before, we were not bombarded with this level of information. If you needed such information, you'd buy a book, you'd attend a conference, attend a seminar. That's the level where it was. But now we have a lot of content which is quite deceptive, quite disturbing, that's readily available on our devices. So I think there's a big role for discernment. Even as couples, there's a big role for discipline, spiritual discipline and discernment, to know the voices. As Christ said, my sheep know my voice. They do not know the voice of the hireling. They know my voice. They hear me and they follow me. So in a world where there are many voices, then you need a lot of discernment and discipline about what you actually take in, even from social media. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think now practically? The sheep know my voice. The social media is not going anywhere. If anything, we are growing into even AI. Yeah. What do you think we can do to enlighten more youth, and also those that are in marriage and they are shaking in terms of where do we amplify our voices so that marriages can not just be distorted by the information that is there? And then unaona shida ni TikTok, hata nikiona 20 bob nishapata advice. So ukiangalia therapy, I need to pay thousands. This one I'm just paying 20 bob subscription, and I have this advice and that advice and that advice. What is some of the practicability ways that, we can put the garbage in, the garbage out that is necessary for our lives and our marriages? Ed.
I think what you're doing is a start. We need more productions. We need more shows. We need more content that is wholesome. Yeah, I think that's the difference. With AI, yeah, it's difficult because now, remember, we are going to be generating way more content than we've ever seen in history. Sure. So I believe that it can be used as a force for good, for us to be able to put out the right messages out there, directing our youth and guiding them even in the content they are generating, for it to be wholesome. So it's not an easy battle to fight. I think it's one of those frontiers where even those developing AI don't know how far it's going to go. We are looking at even jobs that are going to be lost or will be non-existent. We are also looking at levels of intelligence of AI maybe coming up even with theories and ideas that we have not thought of. So it's a time for us to go back to the basics also, to the Word of God, to really grounding these people, because we can't control the exposures anymore as well. So we really need to build solid foundations in our youth. We need to start having these conversations with them in the church, preparing them, equipping them for life and for relationships, especially. How are they going to navigate marriage? And that's important. I think we leave it too late until they found a girl and they are planning a wedding, and you're trying to tell them everything in a span of 6 months. They're in love, they don't listen, they're planning a wedding,
There are so many going around.
So many things going on. Exactly, yeah. So I think what you're doing is positive. I think this is the kind of forums we should be having, even with the young people, Let's reach out to them. Let's have this conversation. Let them be part of their life, so that even when they're going into courtship, they already know what to expect. They're not waiting to get into courtship and then now start learning and learning, then relearning. Well, they're already in marriage. I think that's a great disservice. So I think it's the timing, the equipping them in the right time. As far as platforms, I think this is one of the ways in which we can make a difference.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mercy. Bye. You've said earlier on, we talked about maintaining individuality in the opinions. That will mean also disagreeing.
Yes.
Quite often. How do you maintain submission while still disagreeing with your husband?
Okay. Disagreement is healthy.
Yeah.
We are very different individuals. We have very different personalities. We have been socialized quite differently, but we have a common goal.
All right.
Common goal: to glorify Christ through our marriage, to glorify the word of God, and also to bring up a generation that loves the Lord. And not only our children, but the people also who see us may see the glory of God in us. So disagreements are healthy. We can't agree on everything because our worldview is very different. The way Ed sees things, the way Mercy sees things is very different. The way our brains also decipher things is very different. So you agree together, you listen actively. You don't listen when you're distracted. You listen to your hubby, you listen to your wife, and then you come to a common goal. Okay, so does this work for us? Why will it not work for us? Sometimes you have heated arguments, but the common thing in your mind is, are we fighting each other? Are we fighting to win, or are we fighting to lose? Look at it this way. If we disagree on something, it's because you either not being heard, you feel you're not being listened to, or your point is not coming across. You can also take a breather and then now go back, talk about it well. But it also calls for good communication. Learn how to communicate well. Put your point across without hurting the other person, even when you disagree. If things are very heated, you can take a break, take a walk, or say, can we take up this conversation another time? Yes. So then also, as we say, being good friends. When you're good friends, you share your world, you share what you feel easily. So you rarely disagree. And when they come, you know how to handle them. Sometimes, yes, it may go overboard, but you'll still come back because this is your friend. Communicate well, clear, be concise, and say, this is what I meant. Yeah.
Na utakuja kutuuliza, it's always a joke said that the man comes to ask the wife, the children.
Yeah. Who does your mother say I am?
It's ugly in the Nini language.
It does. And you submit by very many ways. How do you talk to your spouse when you feel hurt?
Okay.
How do you communicate when you feel you must be heard? We usually tell each other with my hubby, whatever you're going to say, is it the truth? Is it a fact? At that moment when you're feeling very hurt, is it the truth? Yeah, so that's why.
Or it's your mind playing
exactly.
tricks.
And when you're hurt, you have heightened feelings of emotions, anger, desperation. There's so much going on in your mind. So, and then think about tomorrow. I want our marriage to last and be healthy for the next 5 minutes. 5 weeks, 5 months,
and 5 years to come.
Yes, so I want our marriage to last. I don't want us to be remembering one particular thing over and over. And submission is also humility, knowing that you're not always right. Are you always right, Janet?
Unfortunately, no.
Yes,
like we said, we are so flawed.
Yes,
so I also stand here to say I'm so flawed.
Knowing that you're not always right, and as I said, seeing the best in your spouse, even when you're disagreeing, you're like, whether umse ni wangu, like he has the best of interests at heart for me. Consideration. There's a point for considering the other person's feelings and where they're at that moment. There's kindness. even when you're disagreeing, remember to be kind. Do not speak that which will destroy your partner, that which will destroy your relationship. That even when they're sleeping, they're like, hey, manze vile uliniongelesha. So even the fruit of the spirit. So remember all those things even when you're arguing. Yes. And that it calls for a pause. And if you feel that there are people who are very heated, mortal, take a breather. Because what you may say there and then will change your life so much. If you had taken 10 minutes, it would have been less hurtful. If you take an hour, so just take a breather. And when you feel very angry, anger is a good emotion. How you use it matters. Okay. Yes. So we can disagree, but in a healthy way.
Ed, do you think there can be disagreement in marriage?
Yeah, I mean, it's
submission.
It's actually the mark of a healthy relationship because, as I said, you come into marriage with your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit. So you can't shut off your mind, and that's important because you have to contribute. There's a lot of many decisions that needs to be made. There's a lot of planning that goes around families, short term, long term, middle term. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. So in that process, of course, there may be times when you don't agree. I think as leaders, what we learn is as men is, we don't sweat the small stuff. Not everything is a matter of life and death. So there's a level where you have to cede some level of decision making to your wife because you can't decide everything. I hardly make many decisions. In my home, I make a few critical decisions and I trust my wife to make the rest. And so I think it's that level of flexibility is important, and also that level of delegation and trust that your wife is also able to make some decisions and also to defer to you when she feels she cannot make a decision. So I think disagreements are healthy, and they're actually a sign that you have actually put in some mental effort, because if you are just agreeing, it means you're not even putting any mental effort. There's an issue on the table, you're not thinking. Yeah, exactly, you're not thinking. Yes. And not thinking. And not thinking is a sin in my view, because you're not engaging. You're not engaging. So
sorry, say it again. Thinking.
It's a sin because you're not engaging. Yeah, you're basically, you have a God-given ability. I've asked you, so what do you think of this? You are choosing not to think. God has blessed you with a brain. He's blessed you with eyes to see. You can write. You can, so you ought to engage. And I think in that process, couples do much better when they are both fully engaged, fully mentally engaged. Because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm just submitting. No, you're on a joyride because you have a proposal in front of you. You haven't read it. Your husband is trying to explain to you what the scope of a project you're working on is, and you're not even engaging, you see. And there's a point where you're like, okay, but he said this and that quote doesn't match with this one. I got a better quote, or someone told me we can get a better quote for this. So that level, you will find, no, maybe I think that's too expensive. The last I had, it shouldn't cost that much. So you can learn from each other, and I think that's healthy, and that's it. That's the sign of a healthy relationship. Is when there's a difference of viewpoint and of opinion. Yeah.
Now, both of you have been married for 5 years and counting. We have young people that are looking into marriage, and we're also having those that have been married. They're basically newlyweds. What are some practical advice that you'll give, Mercy, in terms of the understanding of submission?
I'm thinking. Practical ways to submit is, let's start with the daily. How do you communicate? Okay. Your communication should be courteous. Good morning. How do you start your day? How do you serve your husband? Serving, you don't throw the dishes. How do you serve them, even in their absence? Okay. The other one is, how do you talk about issues together? And how do you let him lead? Because submission is letting him lead. When you're asked about something, you can give your input, but do you allow your husband to lead.
Allow your husband to
And
lead.
trust that the Lord will guide him to lead you well.
Interesting.
Yes.
Ed, please look into that camera and speak to that young man. What leadership entails in submission before he ties the knot.
So it ties the knot. Wow, I think the basis of marriage is in the book of Genesis, when after first a man has to find a mission and a vision and a purpose for his life. He has to be moving in a certain direction. Adam had been given the role of taking care of the garden, and after he had met that obligation, it is God who actually looked and found that all the animals had companions, and he felt that it was not good for man to be alone. I will make for him a suitable helpmeet. So young men, a suitable helpmeet comes after you have met the Lord, after you have submitted to his will, after you are taking care of the garden that he has provided you with. You have been a good steward, and he has blessed you with someone to marry. And to lead them means to lay down your life for them, as Christ loved the church, to be able to be a priest, to pray over that young lady, to be able to prophesy over that family that God is going to bless you with, to provide for them, and to protect them. And as the Bible says, the journey of marriage is for sanctification, to present her as a beautiful, spotless bride when Christ shall return. So it's a huge responsibility, but you're up to the task.
You're up to the task. And that has been it, our viewers. We're looking forward to hear your comments, your likes, so that we can engage with you fully. Until next time, it has been me, Wairimu Gashoya. Good night.